Tell me about Toyam in terms of his evolution. Tell me about Toyam now in terms of what he's able to do. Because I mean, he's functioning and it's all about functioning, right? He's doing very well.
Yeah, I mean, when he was 4, Pushkar had to carry him in the classroom. We would hand Toyam off to the teacher because he just didn't. And I know some kids don't want to go to school anyway, but that was how we started. And now the whole ride to school, he is like saying, "Are we going to be on time? Are we going to be on time?" Because he just loves school. It's just so different. The teachers say he is engaging. He is playing, they call it gaga ball on the playground. I don't know, maybe Brandon knows what that is. He has friends in school. He's like a different kid. I do have to say, he's still at home. He will act out, and he's just a typical kid in that sense, which we expect because, he does still hold it together all day, and he's an angel in the classroom, and he comes home and he'll, kick his shoes off and, not listen, or he gets that way. But for the most part, he's functioning. He's playing his cello in front of an audience. He does martial arts. He does riding. So he is able to communicate really with anyone now. It's definitely easier for him to talk to strangers. And I know I've listened, for your reasoning, than for someone who knew him when he was little who didn't speak.
Right.
Something we learned through it's about Toyam or any kid or any parent going through this is there's a lot of times parents don't want to share what's going on in their families about their children to their relatives or school or friends. It's a mental condition, and you have to share this with everybody to be on board and to be on your team, because that's not to gain an empathy, to really gain other people, other parents and teachers confidence, and also gain a little bit where like everybody gets on your team to help, because we shared, we did get benefit. Not everybody's gonna be, because things get forgotten, but reminding every year, at least in the first few years of school, Nicole kind of made everything about Toyam, putting it out there, and that has helped him immensely, because people knowing not to put them away, but not to expect a lot of things, and that may help him be comfortable around school parents and helped him gain confidence and not worrying about everyone being in his face.
Yeah, no, you definitely, it takes a village, right? We always say it takes a communa village.
It does. And something that I always did was do the all about me form and give it into the teachers, and they sent it out to all the new parents, because it is so typical that a parent that doesn't know Toyam will say, "Hey Toyam, how are you?" And then he'll just like walk on by them, and he did used to do this. He doesn't anymore. But and then what happens, parents, they think your child is rude. You don't want that to happen. So I can just share a little story. When he was in first grade, and we did that all about me form, so the parents did know about Toyam and the teachers. And when it came to they called storybook character day, or that Halloween party, and the kids all dress up in their characters, and Toyam was Jack from the Magic Tree House, and they have to come out and walk in front of all the parents, and then the microphone, they pass it down. And when Toyam took the microphone and said, "I'm Jack from the Magic Tree House," a couple of the teachers teared up, and all the parents like cheered, because they were just so excited for us that he was able to do that. And now I know some Toyam does have sensory processing, highly sensitive kids. So the clapping, we're okay doing that now. But when he was little, we were wondering why we would sing happy birthday when he would cry or scream or.
And the key is that he understands himself too, that he understands that when he's in a setting that's overwhelming, it might take him a while. I know you guys own a few restaurants, right? And I've seen you at the fundraiser, Stage fundraiser. And I remember when he was little, and we talked about the restaurant has a lot of action going on. That's not always an easy setting for him, but now he adjusts really well. I guess he desensitized himself to that environment, because it's certainly an up and up busy place.
Right. I mean, the three L's, Dr. E, I live by them. There's six of them actually: loud, large, lots of people, right? And look, listen, and learn to your child. So I live by those. I think that everyone should.
No, you're absolutely right. The look, listen, and learn is so important. And it's amazing when you start to really look, listen, and learn at your child and you start to figure out, wait, why is he shutting down? Or wow, he was able to progress really quickly in this environment. And I notice when I ask him a question like that's more open-ended, thought-provoking, that's harder for him. Where if I start sometimes with the direct question or knowing how to bridge up and down, it's really amazing how it all fits together, for sure. So his confidence, like you said, he's in all these different activities now and he's thriving. So I always was so happy that you had him in all these activities.
Right. We keep them busy because I feel like getting out there and just whatever it is, going to the grocery store, having him ask for, a cookie at the counter, to get
Boy,
a
he
sprinkle.
loves his cookies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's, if I ask him, you want to go to Publix? Okay, I'll go to Publix because he knows, at least now, and it started out where I had to turn to him and say to him, would you want, sprinkles or chocolate chip? And he would say it and I would, look back and say, did you get that? Did you hear? That's how it all started, Dr. E. And I still make like, well, I'm going to go grab the bananas. You go get your cookie. I just do it so authentically and I just walk away and he goes right up to the counter and I, watch him, but he can do it by himself. So
I think what you just said is really important. Toyam, like many of our kids that we work with, is a timid child. Like the majority of kids do present with timidity, right? Not all, but many, many. And he's highly sensitive. That kind of double whammy right there. So even when they find their voice, and he clearly has, he's able to talk in every single setting. He gets up and I've seen him on the microphone. You've posted that on Instagram, and he spoke at the stage event last year during our fundraiser. He can talk, right? But because of that sensitive nature, because of his timid temperament, you've got to keep it moving. It's not as if, all right, a switch went off. He's verbal. He's found his voice. He's the most confident social communicator everywhere. We need to keep it oiled and moving because otherwise their tendency may be to pull back a little bit because of their temperament and things like that. So I'm really glad that you do continue that and kind of think of him as, I say, hands in the pocket, band-aid over the mouth. You still want him to be the handing the money, taking the money, because what the front line does, that social engagement, is it welcomes others to ask them questions. So as kids tend to kind of shadow and they are hanging out just because the parents are the ones doing it, right? So the kids kind of hang to the back sometimes. Others won't innately ask questions, and you want people to ask questions. You want them to say, hey, did you find everything okay at the store? Or, hey, can I help you? Or that, because it welcomes. And then the common questions. Oh, what are you guys doing over the holidays? And now he's on the front line. So he's going to be the person that's going to be answering that. And if there's a time that he looks at you because he doesn't know, you can jump in with a choice because maybe he doesn't realize all the things he's doing over the holidays and he needs your assistance.
I do feel like Dr. E, something else that helped so much was, he goes to a Montessori school. And so in a Montessori world, they're in circle time, they ask the children, would you like a turn reading? And Toyam would always say no. Of course. I mean, these kids will always say no, right? Try to get out of in any situation to try to talk. So I had to tell the teacher to say, Toyam, it's your turn. And this was something that, it was hard for them at first, but they realized, wow, it really does work when at least he's going to know every time. No, I'm not going to pick him first, but maybe second or third, or just saying it's your turn.
I love this. What you're talking about is called direct language. Instead of saying, can you do this? Or do you want to do that implies doubt. That implies wishy-washy, right? But when you say it's your turn, or let's go practice our games and goals, or let's invite a friend over for a get together, or hey, let's hand out this to their guests that are over. You're speaking in a direct way. And by speaking directly to him, that exudes confidence that he can do it. And that alone makes such a difference in treatment. And it's such a difference in their confidence because, hey, they want to feel you're confident in them. So I love that the teacher said, it's your turn. Now, you may need to start, like many of my kids have to start with what I call the train ride, where it might be the teacher and a buddy or two, and then you increase the train size of the people on the train to get up to a bigger group where you may be reading. That's something we need to do. We often chart that with some kids because speaking one-on-one or in a very small group can be there, that can work. But how do we get to a big group? Now he can do it. You don't have to think about the train ride. But I'm bringing this up to you because I love that the teacher did that and she exuded confidence. Hey, it's your turn. Not, can you do it?
Yeah, you can't ask. Even now, if I say, even now, if I ask him questions, he'll still say no. If we're at the dinner table and it's like, do you want to? It's like, no, it's your turn to do this. We still, you have to keep it going.
I love the keep it going because just like questions and answers, when you said keep it going, I think of keep it going questions or KIG questions, I call it KIG questions. It's even, asking others to ask questions to your child. So if you go to like it's the holiday time now, we can see with the Christmas tree and back and all that and the Santa chairs that you're sitting on. But when you go to family functions for the holidays or you're out and about with people that you know, I tell families often, tell them, like ask them to ask questions to your child. Now in Toyam's case, he's verbal. You don't need to do it. Like he can answer questions, he can ask questions with all of these different family members. But for our listeners, it's a really great idea to have them ask questions. So the common questions, hey, how's school going? Who's your teacher? Are you doing any activities? Some of the kids haven't seen some of these relatives for a year. And so that warm up time may be important, but also prepping them, the About My Child worksheet, but giving them, let's say, 3 to 5 questions to ask and have opportunities for some games to play and opportunities for the give take back forth questions because sometimes the kids can go, hi, someone can say, hey, hi, how are you? The child goes, good. So they're verbal. But we want to teach the children to go, good, how are you? Copy back. And then also to maybe have an I am or an I just statement to say, I'm starting basketball in January, or we just got back from Aruba. And so we work with kids on how to expand conversation even when they become verbal. So for Toyam, he's able to do so much of this. But I feel like for all my episodes, when something comes up that reminds me, I need to kind of give the listeners lots of tidbits.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, I
Helps.
remember after the first communicamp, we came back and we made this little book. I still have it. And in there, we put a picture of mom on one page, a picture of dad and we chef, picture of the dog, picture of the cat. So he can bring these to the family functions. We still have it. I mean, he doesn't use it, but it was definitely a good tool.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, these things are great, and you always have these things in toolboxes to help them get comfortable, so you kind of know.